What's up, guys? Welcome to a new day. I'm Stephanie Ryder, and this is the 365 Shares podcast. It's February 2nd, 2024, and today's topic is identity. The Big Red Book says, in childhood, our identity is formed by the reflection we see in the eyes of the people around us. It says we wanted our caretakers to see us and to love us, but often they didn't see us for who we really were. They saw us for who they wanted us to be. Someone who made the family look good, got good grades, took care of siblings, taking care of drunk parents, submitting to abuse. There are so many things that we had to do to try to get love, and the more we did, the farther we got from our true selves. ACA says that often people end up in meetings because we get so tired of trying to please the people around us, trying to get them to see us a certain way. We come to ACA with no idea of who we are, but a desire to figure that out. Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families says that our true selves have always existed from the day that we were born, and that we still have a true self inside us, who's the person who would have thrived if we had had a healthier family systems growing up. As children, we're at a disadvantage because we don't get to pick our mirrors. We don't get to pick our parents, their friends, our teachers or coaches, our neighbors, anyone who could have harmed us in childhood, or anyone who saw us in a way that we didn't want to be seen. As adults, we get to choose, for the most part, the people who are around us. We get to choose a job, our friends, our romantic partners. We get another chance to have people in our lives who see us the way that we want to be seen. People have children because they want someone to finally love them the way they never felt unconditionally loved growing up. The problem is, if we don't do the work, if we still have this lingering memory of the trauma of seeing ourselves reflected incorrectly or negatively in the eyes of the people that we loved, we still hold that feeling, that limiting self-belief, that is who we really are. So if we find ourselves in a happy relationship, we might unconsciously sabotage it because we're so convinced that we are the person that our relatives mirrored back to us that we will try to make the newer people in our lives see us that way as well. And that means we might act out. We might be negative, passive-aggressive, overly sexual. We might make mistakes. We might bottom out. There are so many things we can do to convince the people who love us that we're not everything that we're cracked up to be. So our work in ACA is to first figure out who we are and how we want people to see us, and then do the work to show up every day in our lives as that version of ourselves so that we believe we're worthy of love and other people believe it as well. I'm Steph, and this is my share. The affirmation for today is, on this day, I define who I am. I am good, and I accept only what is good and healthy in my life. I've worked a lot on my identity. I've talked about this before. I definitely didn't always have a good sense of myself. I think from high school to my early 30s, the version of myself that I saw myself as was really a construct of what was rewarded in my family. Someone who got good grades, someone who was polite, someone who went along with the story that everyone around them was telling, someone who made decisions about her life to accommodate the fears of her parents and grandparents. Brenda was really my mask, my persona for probably 15 years of my life. Very much a perfectionist. She wanted to have the relationship that looked perfect, that made her family proud of her, that her friends approved of. That was really important to her. She wanted a solid resume and a career. And she really wanted people to see her a certain way, very prim and proper, very composed, someone who was always right, for sure. The problem is the choices that she made to bolster this persona, to make the people around her happy, to be the type of person she thought everyone wanted her to be, didn't make some of my other parts happy. And I think a big part of my marriage ending was that I had other parts who were so unhappy with the partner Brenda selected, and she very much selected that partner, that there was a rebellion. Both of us contributed to the end of the marriage. It takes two to tango, but a lot of the things that I did that contributed to the end of the marriage were really because I had this discord within me of these parts that weren't being acknowledged. They weren't real parts. They weren't allowed to come out and have their own personalities, except when I was drinking. I could do whatever I wanted. And I wouldn't say that I got myself into a lot of trouble, but I definitely was a very wild, free spirit when I drank. But the rest of the time, those parts of me were all bottled up. And I think I just tried to ignore them or pretend that they didn't exist. I never saw them as real people. It wasn't until I went through my separation and my miscarriage and my divorce and started really going to therapy. For a while, I was going to therapy twice a week. I was getting a ton of therapy. I saw 3 or 4 or 5 different therapists, starting with my separation, just to figure out everything that they could tell me. And I think really because I wanted so many people to mirror myself back to me. I had so little sense of myself coming out of my marriage. All I had were these really negative images, people who either were angry with me or were pitying me or were withholding information from me. So I think I used my therapist as a mirror after my divorce. And I was really lucky to have a lot of great ones who really helped me come back from this pit of despair that I was in. But as part of that journey, I had to look at my identities and parse them all out and give them different names and figure out what they wanted and stop treating them like terrorists that we were just trying to subdue and start giving them all a seat at the table, because my life works much more smoothly, I have found, if I'm letting the different parts of my identity negotiate and ask for what they want and get it as much as is safe and doesn't compromise the common goals.